Good morning, everybody. As always, we start with an audio test, especially on mornings like this where it's so early that things can happen. So let me know if you can't hear us. Hear me. Chris, do you want to test in case they can't hear you from that side?
Hello.
Hello, morning. We do have the 30-second delay, so waiting. People saying morning, so people saying hello. Thank you, Mr. Miyagi. Nice hair. We hear you loud and clear. Oh, awesome. Yes. Thanks for joining us this early. It is 8 a.m. Pacific here on the West Coast. I feel like I'm on radio now. For those of you who haven't tuned in before, I am Nitocris, or Julia. I am the community manager for Neverwinter, and I am joined today by a very special guest who had promised to be here before, and I'm glad he's keeping up with the promise because it makes my community heart happy. So, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Chris. I'm the EP on Neverwinter. And today we'll be answering questions and talking a little bit about 2020 for Neverwinter. Both of us are sick, so please bear that in mind. And secondarily, I'll be looking at my phone quite a bit to make sure that the build and everything is going well and so on.
I feel so vindicated because I know that I have to feel so bad when I have to look at my phone constantly doing these maintenance trees. So I'm not the only one. Yay. But hey, Annie, thank you. Yes, thank you for your well wishes yesterday. I am feeling better today. Some of you who follow me on Twitter know that I had some stomach flu, or the long word that starts with gastro, over the weekend. My daughter had it, then I had it, and it was just terrible. And so yesterday I spent it all day. I'm not going to get into details, but I'm feeling much better this morning. Thank you. I wanted to be here bright and early. I do apologize for those of you on the forums who I didn't post the patch notes on the forums. I barely got them in yesterday on the website and on social media. As soon as the maintenance is over, I will go ahead and link to them on the forum, since I know not all of you check out social media. But they are also on the ARC page where they're kept, or on the launcher if you follow the link for patch notes on the launcher. But I will get those on the forums as soon as the maintenance is over. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. I'll let Chris start talking. I do have some giveaways today. I do have the Rainbow Starry Panther, and then and for all platforms, and then just for PC only, since this is a PC launch, I do have the Siegebreaker pack, which includes a transmute cloak. That has to be tested after the build goes live, though. So I will be giving away those codes after the testing happens. And then we also have another physical item giveaway, since apparently we're doing spring cleaning. We have this.
It's handmade by Thomas, and it's signed.
Behold this. Beholder. And it is signed by Thomas Faust. He made this. He has a tradition of making a different Christmas tree topper for his family every year. And a few years ago, he made that beholder for his family's Christmas tree. And he donated it for a giveaway this week. So it is very gentle. So there might, I'm going to have to find very good ways to package it so it doesn't break. Lots of tentacles and arms. But that'll be our big giveaway. So actually, let's start out by giving away a couple Rainbow Starry Panthers before we go on to the Q&A, so I don't forget. And all right. Create giveaway. Okay, so if you want to win a Rainbow Starry Panther on any platform, I have it all for all three. Type in the word. All right, the word infernal. The word is infernal. INFERNAL. And this is for Rainbow Starry Panther. Let me look at my phone for a timer. And just kind of to let folks know, we've had the Rainbow Starry Panther since 2015. I know we only give them out through community stuff, so there's not that many out there. But this year I wanted to look to refreshing some of the community giveaways. So I have put in a few requests. This does take development time. One of them I'm going to keep a surprise, but the other one is I've put in a request for, and this is more for Silver because she asked for it, a vanity pet that will be a Rainbow Starry Panther vanity pet. So you'll be able to ride your Rainbow Starry Panther and have your little vanity pet out too. So I'm hoping that for that to be available by M19. I got my fingers crossed. I put in the development request. But yeah, I'm excited about that. All right, I'm going to draw a winner now. All right. Yield Blue. Yield Blue, congratulations. Go ahead and email community@crypticstudios.com, letting me know what platform you play on, so we can go ahead and give you your Rainbow Starry Panther. And then one more. Ram9484. Congratulations. Same deal. Email community@crypticstudios.com and let me know what platform. PC, Xbox, or PS4. Thank you. All right.
Misfit Mouse wants a mouse mount.
Mouse mount?
That could be relatively simple to do.
Well, would you be okay with a rat? You know, just saying. Because, you know, there's a certain year of coming up.
Spoilers.
Should it be on their calendar pretty soon, I think. And then one final piece of maintenance is after today's... so probably not right after the stream is over. It depends on how long maintenance lasts. For those of you who know, maintenance is a bit extended today because of data center server-side maintenance. But after today's maintenance, Gray Haster is going to be streaming, so we'll be going offline and then rating him. So we'll be hosting him on the Cryptic channel, and I encourage people to check out his streaming. He's been a credible supporter of the Neverwinter. He's been in part of our early access programs before. He's very knowledgeable about the game, so encourage folks to stick around after once maintenance is up. For those of you who maybe can't play on console or who want to play while watching someone stream. So yeah, we'll be rating Gray. No pressure, Gray. No pressure at all. All right, I'm going to turn over to Chris, who mentioned something about 2020 plans. So what would you like to talk about today?
Well, maybe we'll talk about 2020 plans a little bit later.
Okay.
I wanted to, just because it might be best to answer those as the questions come over, so they're in context, you know? Mm-hmm. I wanted to thank everyone for their participation in the collaborative development program. It was super useful and will continue to be so. The areas of focus are listed at the end of the thread. And as I said, we'll be working in different ways to continue to collaborate, brainstorm, discuss direction around the areas that we're moving in. A lot of people have said, oh, you know, that's a huge list, and we know that. Again, as it says in the post, just to reiterate, we aim to start all of these this year, at least at phase 1, and to get quite a few of them finished by the end of the year. So, yes, and then our next CDP is Rewards of Progression, which is going to be really lively. Looking forward to that one. And then we're talking about potentially doing a separate PvP one that I won't manage.
Yep.
Okay, so...
For those of you wondering, we'll probably get Robert Haruda. Well, we don't have one specific dev assigned all the time to be PvP. Robert is the one who did the latest iterations, the latest map, the latest changes, the seasons, the campaign, and he's very active in the PvP community, so we'll probably get him on board to be part of the CDP. And for the rewards CDP, I was going to launch it yesterday, but with me being pretty much out of commission and it being a holiday, I felt it was unfair. We wouldn't be able to keep eyes on it, so I'll be launching it tomorrow. Today is very preoccupied with the launch, but tomorrow, look forward to the rewards CDP opening up. And
Rob PvP, yeah, I think you mentioned it, I don't know. I got the chance to play with him the other night. We were playing, and who was it who was streaming? I can't remember who was streaming. Flounder, I'm sick, forgive me. But he was hilarious. Hopefully he won't be that hilarious in terms of discussions with us, because, you know, he did go a bit crazy, but it was good. I'm looking at Julia's hand here. Show them your hand. Oh, well, this is nothing. This is already healed. I think you want to see. I don't think you can see with the glare. That's called having a 9-month-old kitten at home. My hands are just. Yeah, this is nothing. It was like, yeah. Now, for those of you who had cats or kittens, I've got a little feisty ginger at home named Bowie. Yes, after the singer David Bowie. And yeah, he every day I come to work and I feel like, don't judge me, it's a kitten, I swear. But yeah. So no updates from me on professions. I don't know enough about that currently. I've been focusing on the team health, organisation, best working practices, community, and our plan for this year and moving forward. But I'm sure that we'll get back to you on that. Hey, Gray. We'll get back to you on that soon. Sorry. And then in regard to... I was thinking last night, I didn't sleep. It was Flounder's stream. It was Flounder. Yep. I was thinking last night about CDP, and I wonder, you know, about having separate threads for items that we are actively beginning work on. The issue with that is we can't moderate all of those, and the replies from us are going to be minimal, but that shouldn't be, it's going to be questions and comments rather than explanations. So half of me is like, well, that's going to cause an issue because people are going to feel like they're not being communicated with. But the other half is thinking, well, actually, we're going to get the information there. We're going to be able to answer the questions. So, I guess we'll talk about it and see what to do from that point of view. And then Nova and others have mentioned as well announcements using mail chat. I need to check into that in-game to see why we haven't been doing it in the past, outside of spam, for want of a different term. But we're definitely looking into that. And so, yes, let's see. Any questions?
I had someone, Grumpy Owl, mainly because I love that name, companion appearance tab so we can mix and match companion skins. So one of the ideas I had a couple years ago was, those of you familiar with the different, there's mounts called the Sarutox something mount, and it's usually like a different, real cool, like a cool looking skin for different mounts, and it usually has some like cool decorations on the side. I asked the team if we could open Sarutox, like workshop or like paint garage, where you take in your mount and give it a reskin, and just because this individual is known for creating some wild custom colors. So it's something that, it kind of started out as a silly idea, but I do like the ability of seeing what individuals can do. I don't know what limitations we would have or what kind of UI it would involve, basically what kind of development work. But I do like that idea, and it's something that we can more formalize and present it as hey, what options do we have that we could, give players what they want while still making sure we can fit into development time. I've always liked that idea.
Okay. So there's no hard-hitting questions yet. I can imagine what other streamers are currently saying.
Video's not in sync with audio. Is anybody else having that issue? Let us know. There's nothing that changed on our end. It could be a latency issue. We stream at the highest, but then you can change it on your end. And then I saw someone else talking about blue screen, when we would stop all the blue screens. So blue screens tends to be basically on an individual basis. So
it's fine.
Give us more details on that.
Yeah, we're not going to be blue screening anyone. Like that.
So video's fine. There you hear. Okay, so. For those of you if you are having audio visual desync, go ahead and just maybe change some settings on your end, and hopefully that will help. Okay, here we you, yay! So Chris, there's something. So King of WS.
We've been talking about Masterworks recently at a high level. That will be part of the CDP on rewards. We really haven't dug into that as part of the CDP. We are intending, where possible, in lockstep to work with the community. So that's just something that's basically on the backlog. Speaking of backlogs and roadmap, we should be sending out to you a high-level roadmap by the end of next week of the plans for this year. Note, as the year goes on, the roadmap becomes less accurate, simply because we listen to the community, we're agile, we're looking at metrics, that kind of thing. And don't forget, everything's subject to change. So, tell us what's coming. Okay, there you go. So, there will be, moving forward, no such thing as a typical mod. Whilst we may have a mod 19, it won't be until the end of this year. And there are a number of reasons for doing this, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions, and we'll go through all of this. The main reasons for, the top reasons for doing it are so that we can get better. The faster we deploy, the more useful metrics and info we get from the community base. So that's one of the reasons. Another, any plans to fix the boring gameplay? It's a great question. We'll get back to that later.
What area of gameplay?
Yeah, more details.
We got to start refining that.
Yeah. So basically, it gives us another part of it is that the typical kind of mods have become typical. There's nothing in terms of the overall structure of them that delights or excites players. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, predictability is a thing that players have told us about.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we've got a huge opportunity, whilst we do have narrative in the game, with Dungeons & Dragons, to actually take the player on more of a narrative journey in terms of the main characters and so on. And faster releases allows us to have this kind of episodic storytelling. On top of that, in order to fix development debt, we're going to rotate certain pieces of content out of the game and then bring them back in as part of the narrative and so on. So we have an evolving world. And that also means that the next deployment that you get will be sooner than what Mod 19 would have been. So the next series of deployments, we're using kind of the war chest of what we have in Mod 19, as well as new events and so on, whereby we are going to put a focus more on the individual components of that. Moving forward with that, we'll be doing more experimentation in terms of, how can we evolve storytelling in the space? How can we evolve, not inclusivity, how can we involve the player's experience in terms of how we do our releases and so on. So an example would be, the plan is, and just to show you how in lockstep we are, the Cryptic Studios team as a whole was told about this plan on Friday in an all hands meeting. And the team, we'd be discussing it at a high level. It was mentioned in my last stream that we may do fewer mods and so on.
Can I interrupt for a second? So everything that Chris is talking about relates to all platforms. So even though changes tend to come initially to PC, all the changes in terms of not as big modules as people used to think. Basically, everything that Chris is talking about will be applicable to all platforms.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying not to read at the moment.
And I'm reading, and if there's some stuff that comes up, I might
totally go ahead. Yeah. And so
we were told we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. We talked about it on the stream. The team's been talking about it. We're now in a phase basically where we're all agreed on the new structure at a high level, and the team, as of today, is working on, what kind of branch technology are we going to need to be able to do this. How are we going to mix the teams up and so on? How do we achieve what we said in the CDP alongside kind of exciting and delighting you guys in terms of the experience you're going to have moving forward? And so it's as much a part of being able to box clever in terms of how we could develop moving forward with a real focus on release quality as it is actually pioneering by working with the community as closely as we possibly can. So what will the future Mod 19 be made up? Well, there'll certainly be some elements of the CDP. Maybe streamlining won't come in until Mod 19. The idea is that we'll spend a year on one kind of narrative arc, and then we'll feed into the expansion or the mod with teasers on where the next location or where the next narrative arc is going to be. And then that expansion feeds out back into the next season of where we'll be going with the next narrative arc. There'll be a higher level narrative arc, which will be the storyline of the main characters and so on, interweaving. That doesn't mean that all episodes, for example, are going to be in hell. We want to delight and excite you, for this year. So, taking a leaf out of, a page out of X-Files, kind of like show-running book of, there are, 3 episodes in a row using the Smoking Man narrative, and then there's the episode on the ship in 1943 in black and white. So we'll be going backwards and forwards in time and so on.
For those of you who watch The Witcher, that might sound familiar.
Yeah. So how did you do in PvP? I don't play PvP, but I play an OP Paladin. Okay, so that's quite a big announcement. I tend to, unfortunately, one of my weaknesses, I tend to just assume that people know more than what I've said. So, any questions and so on, send them and we'll start answering some questions now. And I'm sure that I've forgotten some stuff, which I'll remember. So I took a few notes during here, and I did want to answer a couple things. Nimue, I believe, was their name. You mentioned that the ARC program is what gives you issues. So you can send a support to ticket to PWE and let them know. Unfortunately, the ARC program launcher is handled by PWE. But you can also use the native launcher, the native launcher for Neverwinter, so you can bypass the ARC launcher stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. A nicotine chewing gum without naming the brand.
Oh, okay.
I think the Stronghold needs work is the answer to that question.
Yeah, I believe when we were last on, you mentioned that you were going to look into Stronghold in PvP. But I can't speak for Chris, but I'm going to speak from what observing from Chris. He has spent, since he got here, he has been he has come in and been very busy trying to see where the game is going, what the direction of the game, and he has been investing a lot of time into seeing where this whole year will take us. So I think that he's slowly going to start easing into subtopics like Stronghold PvP, and he mentioned earlier having a CDP just for PvP as well. But right now, I think my observation is you were busy looking at the whole of the game before diving deep into smaller issues.
Yep.
But we have not forgotten about Strongholds. We've not forgotten about PvP. And that's why I'm excited about having individual CDP topics, because that does allow us to put us in a very focused mindset when we talk about those topics. Let's see. I keep seeing a hashtag staffs for wizards. Yes, I would love to get staffs for wizards. I stopped playing my wizard a little bit ago. I went to Warlock. I would love to go back to my wizard for a little bit, and I will see what we can do about staffs or staves, because I personally like them. I don't know if there's a licensing reason for why we don't have staffs for them, but.
Yes, there will be continued alpha playtests. We may even do them earlier with a smaller select group. We are going to potentially be sharing design docs for comment before we basically commit 100% to development of certain things. Like, we have a very strong kind of like paradigm here now of risk mitigate up front. So what that means is we do as much as we can in terms of working out logical issues, talking to the community up front before we go into implementation phase. So that could be part of that. Mia, with next mod taking very long to be released. Yes, will we get update salute tables? Yes. So basically, there will be features and system updates in between mods. Whilst you're right, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Whilst the episodic kind of release structure is very much about experience and kind of content, systems and there'll be a systems and mechanics team essentially that is working towards the next big expansion. But when certain pieces of work are complete, they will go in as part of an episode, for example.
And then for events, we do have the new lunar event coming up. It's the Year of the Rat. So I know that we did the first one last year. We're continuing that, and then we had the Hell Pit event earlier this year on PC, late last year on PC, and then earlier this year on console. And we will be having more events similar to that. I'm not sure when the next one is coming out that's related to the whole sequence of Hell Pit, where you can get that one coin to eventually get the legendary mount. But we are reworking events, and then I believe there's discussion of having them longer scale, things that last maybe for a couple weeks.
So two questions. Any plans to attempt to bring old dungeons back? Absolutely. We'll be, there's a possibility, for example, as well, that we'll be doing, as per the CDP, level 80 versions of the current dungeons. We're also looking at streamlining in terms of streamlining player experience. That doesn't mean kind of like just a focus on first-time user experience. It means a focus on getting the player to the fun faster and teaching the player in a more engaging way moving forward. Can we go back up to
sure? Which question was it?
Yes, in regard to bring old dungeons back. So
on a permanent basis.
Yeah, the plan is that we will also be basically working on removed content and basically updating it and bringing it back as it makes sense.
I saw a question from Nova from the Neverwinter Partner Program. Yes, we refined it some more. I sent an email to the first batch of people that were one of the most highly nominated ones, some of the ones that had expressed the most interest or were part of the soft launch phase. This does not mean that wasn't inclusive. I will be monitoring for the next couple months basically how overwhelming it gets, just because it is still just me managing it all, and maybe start introducing a few more folks. But just for general knowledge, what the email box kind of centralize what I'm doing. They will be getting monthly codes. Probably for the first 6 months of the year, the codes will be things that we've given out in the past, just because we still need time to make new things. As the program progresses, I'll be requesting exclusive codes or items that are just for the content creator program. We'll also be getting rotations of scheduling, like who we raid or who we host on our streams, promotions on social. And then also every kind of 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be doing a spotlight on the different content creators. So we'll be promoting them on our news site, doing like an interview on the website, and maybe even a stream interview where we just talk about their experience as a content creator. So the email outlined all the steps for them. So it's getting more coalesced. The soft launch phase was really helpful for me to figure out how much work it's going to entail. And my biggest thing is I didn't want to overpromise and then underdeliver. So just taking it a little bit slower, but we ramped up. And as some of you folks have noticed, we have been promoting a lot more people on our socials. We've been trying to raid more, that kind of stuff. So we've been amping up, and I really want to thank those who've been participating so far.
So what do I think about scaling? I think it needs rework. We are going to rework it. I think that it needs to be applied where it makes sense to apply it. I think that, the most fun I've definitely had in the game currently, not to say that there aren't really fun parts in the game as you level up, tend to be closer to level 70. One of the reasons being that people are teaching you what's important and what isn't. Scaling basically needs a rework, and that was a big part of the conversation at the CDP. So go check that out if you want more details. Again, in regard to PvP, we're considering running a secondary CDP about it that I won't be part of, but Rob Haruda will be, and members of the community. So yes, I understand the importance, but at the moment I'm focused on the core part of the game. But I do see the value in basically doing that to see what low-hanging fruit we've got that we can work on. With risking that PR at PWE might get a little bit upset at me, sure, I'll go ahead and say it because we're going to be announcing it later today anyway when the module goes live on PC. Infernal Descent will drop on console on February 25th with a little asterisk next to it saying, date is always subject to change. But our goal is to February 25th get Infernal Descent out there. So it will be about a little less than 5 weeks. CDP is the collaborative development project. Gosh, I really am. I really am not well. I'm forgetting certain things I was going to answer. So,
if someone can link to the CDP forum site on here, that one of the mods on here would be great.
Okay, so one of them was what was it? Yes, console parity. Everyone wants us to get closer in terms of the launches between PC and console for, experiential and business reasons. We are aware and we are working towards that, but we have a lot of things to tackle this year. So whilst it's something that we want as well, it's not going to be something that we're devoting a huge amount of resources to at the moment.
And then the console calendar, I believe, will be updated. We just got the final internal calendar of events updated last week from Terramac, and so now the next step is to get him to update the in-game calendar for all platforms. As most of you know, it shows up to 6 weeks in advance.
So less nerfing, please. Good call. I think that some of the reason for the nerfs is release quality, having the right amount of time to test and to fully kind of develop, items that we put in, balance changes we make, and so on. And so as part of increasing our release quality, which you'll see improvements, I'm hoping, in M18, we'll see, but you'll certainly see improvements, bigger improvements moving forward. And so the focus is very much for the team on less nerfing, better release quality, the less need to go back and retread in other areas. Jack Dev, I keep seeing you saying raise 100k rough AD. That's thanks, yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll look at it. But I could, I know it's not a question, but it's not something I could talk about currently.
So Jan, who is Mickey on the forums, is the next episode already scoped in size, roughly outlined?
Cool question. The answer to that is, as I said, we are almost in lockstep in terms of where we are with this new initiative moving forward. We have ideas of what the next episode's going to be, but we're not 100% sure yet that it's going to be that. So I think we'll know closer to the end of the week. simply we're looking at when things are coming in, when they'll be complete, which will be the best to show first, how does it work in terms of making sense in terms of narrative. There was another question earlier as well in regard to cosmetic items, and are we going to basically sell those? There's a potential for that in terms of how we tell the narrative. If we're doing a good job in telling the narrative, which is going to take time, then I think people are going to want some of the things that some of the narrative characters are wearing and that kind of thing. So yes, can we accept the game and get better to make sure it will stay around? Well, yeah, Asmar. The question is that not the question. The focus moving forward is that this is a platform that we can collaborate on together with a shared journey that lasts for as long as the community is enjoying the experience. So yes, this is totally designed. This specific initiative in regard to episodic and expansion content is designed to allow us to create great content for years to come, and for you guys to help evolve what the world means, and that includes technology. We're not looking at this currently, but the ability to impact the world in real time is something geographically. I don't know. There's a rock slide and someone sees it, and then they discover a dungeon, and he spreads it via word of mouth, or she to someone else. There's different things we could do from a socio-political standpoint. So yes, the idea is that it's a platform moving forward. We are on a journey with you. I think this year is going to be good, and I think the years after that we're going to get better and better at what we do, and it's just going to be so cool, basically building worlds together moving forward. So I'm very excited about that.
So a couple questions. People were asking about what we thought about bringing Lair the Mad Mage and Castle Ravenloft back into the random queue. This is one of those things where we determine whenever we launch something new, we understand that people are going to get better gear, they're going to get more practice, or learn basically more and be able to do older content a bit more successfully. But we are still looking. I mean, if we see that the completion numbers are just not where we need them to be, we can always reevaluate where they are. And we've pulled things from the random queue before. It's something we always want to look at. But right now we felt that with the new content launching and the new gear available, people would be able to do it more successfully.
In regard to Elite Noddy, sure there's a smile on your face when you type that. Are you talking about making it a living world? Let's call it an evolving world. For some people will be in on where Elite's coming from in regard to that. But I've worked on a lot of games as a service recently. I know how much room there is in both this business model and both this genre, for want of a better term, to really pioneer, and that's what I want to basically get us to. And so doing episodic structure and having more time around evolving systems of features and adding new ones and polishing old ones and finishing work in regard to work that isn't complete in terms of it needing to be phase 2, phase 3. The whole point of this is to allow us to do that while still delivering awesome content and a great experience.
So Book Flirts actually says, are you worried about the lull between mods losing player interest between?
It's interesting. It's up to us to basically, there'll be so while there's a longer lull between the mods, the expansions, there's going to be, we're hoping to deliver meaningful content every 2 months in between that. So, for example, one piece of Mod 19 will have the spotlight for that release, and we will do more to basically enrich that overall experience. Let's say, for example, there's a trial. There'll be a hard trial, and then there'll be a normal trial for everyone to take part in. In between the releases of episodes, we'll be working on continuing to engage the community in terms of how we move forward and how we evolve, as well as we're going to be taking together everyone on a narrative journey. And so there's going to be cliffhangers, and there's going to be theory crafting by players, and so on. So am I worried about it? I want us to deliver content that you guys really, really enjoy. And I believe that if we could get into that momentum this year with the episodic structure, then I'm not worried. So it's a good forcing function for we've got to get it right.
I mean, if I were a director, it'd probably be something that I could consider a potential concern, but with his vision, the hope is to not have to worry about it. At least that's my translation from a...
You know, I'm not scared of big challenges. We're not scared of big challenges. So, like I said, this is a great forcing function, which brings me nicely on to lots of people making assumptions in regard to the development team, which aren't unfounded. And I understand the frustration in some places, but I do want to point out, I'm going to stop talking for a bit and Julie could talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to get yourself some tea while I do some giveaways or something?
There's this, and you get it with any game you work on, this belief that the team doesn't care, etc. And, they're not reading the forums and that kind of thing. I could tell you absolutely that the team very much does care. They haven't previously had the opportunity to, be as transparent as I would like that to be. I mean, different executive producers have different opinions about what information is shared. I'm not a big fan of the marketing style where we all have this cohesive message and here's this message. The reality is that there isn't always a cohesive message. The reality is that, making games, you need to have conversations with people that don't necessarily agree with what you're doing. You need to brainstorm those, and you need to, that's how you get great stuff. And so, moving forward, you may hear someone say something that's contrary to me, and that's fine, because the option is we either have kind of like a little bit messy, transparent feedback because we're in the flow, we're real time talking about stuff, we're discussing it at the studio, we're discussing it with the community, versus, here's a standard clear message for you all, which gets us nowhere. And besides, for me, 50% is, quite honestly, 50% is of what we're doing now is making Neverwinter an evergreen platform, because I really like the game. It's got some amazing elements to it. And then the other 50% is let's pioneer in terms of what it means to actually make worlds with the community. And so I would prefer us to go down the line of, okay, let's be transparent, but you're not always going to like what you hear. Sometimes there's going to be folks that say contrary things to each other, but I much prefer that than to be, not having you share the journey and not having you build the worlds with us moving forward. So I'm just going to get some more water.
Yep. So in the meantime, I'm going to do some giveaway. I'll do another Rainbow Starry Panther real quick. All right. Let's just keep it easy because I'm not brain celling that great this morning, as you can see. Let's do the word panther. Panther. For those of you who've seen me in streams before, one of the things that I can't always share that much information is because the concern of saying something that was incorrect, that was going to counter to what plans were getting made or what our publisher wanted or what licensor wanted. I'm very grateful that this team allows me to be in a lot of meetings. Even though I am not a lead because I am a team of one, so I'm not leading anybody, I am invited to leads meetings. I'm invited to all the production meetings. I don't have a title producer just because they understand the importance of me having visibility into meetings. So I'm very grateful that I get to be in a number of meetings that Chris is leading where he talks about different plans. So I'm hoping that, especially with our new release cadence, I can be more upfront about the things the things we're working on, things that we've been discussing, better timelines. But as Chris mentioned, with a caveat that I could say something and then later on maybe the production team has decided that they needed to rescope. So just understanding that there might just be some differences between what we say, but I will try to be more transparent about that. That's something I'm really much looking forward to be able to give you more information. Right now, I have to sit. I know it might be happening 2 modules from now, or when we did the module kind of centered more on module releases. But it was really hard for me not to be able to say anything. So with having more content every couple months, that is going to be allow us to just have more engagement with the community, give you more updates, what's happening, and that kind of stuff. So we're finally going to draw the winner. Okay. So Stow X Denver, STOWX Denver, like in Colorado. Congratulations. You won a Rainbow Starry Panther. Please email community@crypticstudios.com to let us know what platform you play on. And then one more. The Zen Master. Congratulations. You won a Rainbow Starry Panther. Go ahead and email community@crypticstudios.com to let us know what platform you play on. PC, Xbox, or PS4. All right. And let's bring this window up again. Okay. So one thing that comment I wrote down earlier was Nova asked about using the content creator program. How about getting those folks involved, like in-game stuff, like maybe helping create an NPC or doing voiceover. I am not sure about the logistics about creating an NPC. I did like the idea of the voiceover, and I've taken a note of that because one of the downsides of not being SAG, so Neverwinter is not SAG, so we don't get to use SAG actors for voice acting unless they make exceptions for themselves. But one of the advantages of not being SAG is that we can use a lot of different people. We were able to use Satine Phoenix and Rudy Woot. We've used people in-house. Actually, our audio director, Michael Henry, he does a number of those voices, which is great. And then we've also pulled from the staff here. So I like the idea of maybe working with one of our content creators to do some lines for one of our characters. So that's something that I really love that idea. Thank you, Nova. I'm going to bring it up, to Chris and then to Michael Henry as well to see what business issues there might be in the back end. But really love that idea. The suggestion is great. Welcome back, Chris. Whoa.
Thank you.
Wow, take a moment to smile. You guys have the most people watching ages. You're hitting almost 500 views. Wow.
How many?
Almost 500 viewers.
Cool.
That's I don't think we've seen that number for quite a while. Thank you for being up this early. Those of you on the West Coast, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it, for sure. Please stop screaming nerf journals. I was just repeating that. That's not from me.
Oh,
obviously.
I know.
But I will answer that question in that. Is Tales of Old coming back? We're looking at that currently now in terms of the event plan. So that's something else to point out. We're still going to have our events. We're still going to have new events in between the episodes. So basically, you're going to get more content that's had more time in terms of polish. And then when it comes to the expansions modules, you're going to get higher release quality, more thought out, more time tested, etc., etc. Okay.
I also know that Jared, our systems lead, has spoken about having a vendor, or not a vendor, but something in game that will allow players to get items that were no longer available maybe because content is no longer available, or for whatever reason those items you can't get them in game anymore. That was something that has been in discussion.
Dress Robot, any plans to work the boon system? Yes, as part of streamlining, which is in the CDP. So you could go in the CDP, you could look at that, plus we'll also be engaging the community in regard to that moving forward. But, in the same way that the community and the members of the CDP are still thinking about that, we're still thinking about that. So I can't tell you exactly how we're going to do that moving forward. I can tell you some ideas that have come forward. One is basically to, and again it's high level, is to add more storification in the path from 1 to 80, reduce the time it takes potentially to get to 80 down to 8 hours instead of it being roughly 20, and giving a better narrative flow as the player gets up to that level, and on top of that, the tutorials being more kind of narrative-centric, more experience-centric. Okay.
Nazgul, I'm writing down what you're saying about the Taroka deck artifact that can be used every 30 seconds and refills all divinity.
Nomo, Rero, Room in Hell 2. We're losing players. This trend is continuing even now. What are you doing about this? Everything that we're talking about. Another assumption is, as the game gets older, in our space, they will start to trend down. However, as you've seen with certain other games, in the games as a service space, they can also trend up. Will be trending up. But the assumption around it's catastrophic is not true at all. So we were talking about streamlining. Yes.
What do you plan to do to increase the gap between new players and multi-year players?
Well,
that was something that the CDP talked about pretty extensively.
Yeah, again, that's part of streamlining.
Mm-hmm. There was another question. Questions are coming in fast. It's the only... bring back Gelatinous Cube Companion. I do have codes for that, so I've made them. Some of them are given by content creators in our program. I can make more of those available.
So, Cave Dog, woo! I know Cave Dog. We don't play together, but I watch the same streams that he does. Rewards basically are going to be part of the streamlining exercise, and we'll be digging very deep. So, an example of how do we collaborate when it goes from CDP to kind of production and it's in development. An example is rewards and progression. So the reason, we've worked out that we wanted streamlining to be one of our focuses this year. So the next CDP is about rewards and progression, and so we'll have that ability to, in this CDP, to drill even further into what would that look like, etc.
Greg Armorsmith says watering mounts. Any thoughts? All I could think of was like a watering can. Watering mounts. I'm assuming you mean water mounts, like we have that kind of watery horse, or mounts that go on water. I'm not exactly sure which one you mean by that.
Well, there is a lot of people. It's much harder to track than the last time I was here in terms of questions. We're going to have to rethink this a little bit. Let's scroll up.
Yep. I do have the ability to pull the chat log as well.
Okay. There was.
Let's see. Lots of questions.
I guess. What do you plan, Chris? What do you plan to do to increase the gap between new players and multi-year? I mean, I think you mean decrease. Yes, that's part of streamlining rewards and progression. So that'll be in the next CDP. Our plans are that we have plans, and a lot of them are laid out in the CDP. So go check that out. Anyone that's joining the next CDP, do take the time to read the previous one. Look at how we managed the discussion. Look at how the format that was used. Lean on community members who were part of the previous one to understand how best to be efficient in terms of us getting to kind of resolution on stuff. The next one's going to be a lot more finite in terms of, it'll include VIP as well. It'll be much more detailed, almost like a design document by the end.
Solar Arthur says, long-time D&D player, pen and paper first edition. I won't get off my lawn. Really enjoy the cryptic version of the game. Thank you. No, thank you for playing. And I actually, my first D&D was 3.5. But the year that Gary Gygax died, I went to Gen Con that year, and I got to play first edition. They had some of the people that had co-created D&D with Gary Gygax. And I got to play like an old school game, first edition. First edition clerics were so OP. Oh my goodness! I was the only person in my group who beat the Tower of Gygax that year. But yes, thank you for playing, and I also enjoy the more narrative shift as well.
In terms of narrative focus, it's going to be experiential narrative. So less it's not Mass Effect was very experiential as well. But the reason I mentioned Mass Effect is not Mass Effect in terms of treed discussions that affect gameplay, at least not at this point, although I know that the team would like to do that at some point, but we've got other fish to fry. I'm not going to say Cats 2 because there were complaints about that on the CDP. For those that were on it, they'll know what I mean. It'll be the storyline will be something you experience that you'll take part in. Yes, there will be potentially more cutscenes, shorter ones, cliffhangers. The community will theory craft in terms of where we're going. Next year, they'll theory craft in terms of what's going on, and that will impact the storyline as well. So great. No, edge case, no alternate story paths. That is extremely expensive to do, and we are not in a position to do that currently. So again, before that becomes a meme, no alternate story paths currently.
Maintenance is still ongoing. Just looking at...
Will the next future mods have heroic characters? I don't know. That's something that we'll talk about with the community in regard to adventure zones and so on.
I think one of the concerns is people don't want it to, like, they don't want the in-between updates. Just be heroics.
No.
So there were some questions about cross-platform, like, if we'll have cross-platform play. We've said in the past that no. Honestly, I don't know if there's been any more discussions about tech and how getting that to happen doesn't seem something...
What was the question, sorry?
If we ever get cross-platform play between all platforms.
I don't know.
It requires a level of tech investment that right now I don't think that we're there yet.
I'd like us to do it. But again, it's not a focus. Everything has a cost.
Yeah.
In regard to class, so class is something out of everything that is kind of off topic, and I'll explain why. Are we talking about a new class? Yes. Do we know what we think it will be? Yes. Do we know when it's coming out? No. Do we want to talk about what the class is? Not yet, because that's one of the things in the game that's a nice surprise. And I think that basically when we are ready to talk about it, which will be relatively shortly before the release of it, which could be any time in the future, we will engage the CDP, we'll open up the alpha servers early to play on it, but we want to delight and surprise players, and that's something that we would like to keep in our pocket for a while. Plus, it takes a long time to build and so on. And as you could see, there's a lot of areas that we really want to focus on.
Undefined. They had asked about. You had thought they meant decreasing the gap, but actually what they meant was, what do you plan to increase, not decrease the gap between the new players and multiplayers? Because long-term players feel like all their work was for naught when new players is only a few % behind them in damage. Higher tier character feats and chancing to be stronger. So they do want, basically the long-term players want to feel more godlike than newer players.
Cool, okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. That was part of the CDP as well. I think that's part of how we work with scaling moving forward, and we rework scaling. I totally get that. I'm level 80, 21k item power now. I totally get that it would be nice to for your abilities to be, for example, to be more meaningful in the areas that are scaled, and so that'll be part of rewards and progression CDP, and it's already part of streamlining, which was in our previous CDP. So yes, I do understand where you're coming from there. At the same time, inclusivity is important. So and at the same time, you could argue, and it's totally true, that you want beacons, you want players that other players look up to and are like, wow, that's amazing. So we totally we read that in the CDP, been thinking about it for a long time. Everyone agrees it's not a simple thing, not that I enjoy simple things in terms of development. So yes, again, sorry I can't give you a finite answer, definitive answer to your question, but it is definitely something that we will be working on this year. Tiered dungeons should fix that, normal, hard. Yeah, but then I agree, dress rober to a certain extent, but then also part of scaling is, where is scaling most meaningful? For example, if we're doing a big marketing push around an event, but X number of players can't play that event, we want them to be able to play that event. And those players who want to be able to show off all the hard work that they put in, whether they're player killer type or whether they like to share knowledge and that kind of thing. We want to cater for the 4 different types of player. We were talking about this on Flounder's stream on Friday. And so, high level players going into there and players that have been playing a lot in the game, you still want them to be able to show off, for want of a better term, and other players go, wow, that's really cool.
So someone mentioned, Voodoo Driss says Tabaxi is needed. So when we actually introduced the GIF, I had Thomas on a stream, and he mentioned how we had planned to work on the Tabaxi. We'd actually done a lot of work on it. But we hit a snag between the IP holder with Wizards of the Coast and us, and that is the way our models are created. The female armor adapts to having chest, basically, for female characters. Tabaxi, there is For chess, there's no difference between male and female, according to Wizards of the Coast. So they would not allow us to have tabaxi with any kind of, even the smallest chest bottle. We would not be able to use any of the armor we have for female characters. And we discussed about making all the armor available to everybody. That would require a lot of work on graphics. So it would be a lot more extensive work. We weren't able to get the release out. But we really wanted to get the tabaxi out there. It just came down to not being able to reach an agreement between what we had available and what our licensing wanted.
Nova, lots of people have got questions. But yes, what was Tank Ready's question? I did see it before and I was going to answer it. So could you repeat what Tank Ready's question is? And I'll basically see if I can answer it.
Oh, this one right here?
Any plans for new players coming to on NPC?
Any plans for new players coming to PC from console to use an NPC in-game to add their items so it generates a code on PC to redeem it at rewards?
So
merchant?
basically, I guess what Tank Ready is saying... Does he mean bring a container? So basically you've got a clone of your character?
So redeem rewards at merchant. Oh, so basically, instead of doing like a character transfer, basically having a code that you can redeem and it would give you all the stuff you have. If you can explain a bit more, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think that's what he means. It's a cool idea. Regardless if that's what Tank Ready means, at least what we're saying covers some of that. So yeah, that's a cool idea. Let's look into it. Then we'll look into it. Okay. Please, I mean, with everyone wanting cross, it's a slight issue with cross-platform. Please address waiting times and queues. We're actively doing that. So you'll see improvements moving forward in that area.
Nephrenia, Shadowstorm, any plans to fix the current issues with the auction house? I know one of the big ones is that every time we release some new content or there's been a big update, there is players do keep getting the message of unable to post, so they have to keep trying. That is something that we've looked at numerous times, and it just appears to be because of the traffic. Every time there's a new update, people want to see where they can go make the economy go, the player-led economy. So we have looked at ways to mitigate that so it happens less. And I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to get a time where it doesn't happen, where you don't get an error, just because of the sheer volume of people trying to post on the auction house.
Yeah, cross-save. Yeah, let's look into that. Julia, sorry, can you make a note and I'll look into that?
Yep.
We do have container technology here, so we'll have a look at that. We'll talk about it in the next time we chat, which can also be, by the way, I don't know, a cross stream with different streamers and like 3 different streamers there, or 2 streamers and 2 members of staff. There'll be more members of staff coming in chatting. My ask to you is, try to be kind to them. They, like I said, and I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of assumptions about what they do and don't care about. They really do care. And this moving the curtain back in terms of how we develop, that could create a lot of anxiety for the developers in terms of engaging, re-engaging, and so on. I think initially you're still going to find folks reluctant to really engage, perhaps as much as I am, because they're worried about what the consequences might be. But over time, that will definitely get better. Okay.
It would be nice to encourage and recognize YouTubers in other languages than English. I agree. The only other language I speak is Spanish. So the one thing is we do want to vet content creators in terms of, if you are a content creator that creates things that are basically wholly inappropriate, and I'm not talking about game bashing, I'm talking about just, inappropriate in terms of societal, political terms, stuff like that, we can't allow that. And it's one of the things that I can't vet in different languages. I do work closely with the community managers from Europe, and they can give me recommendations, but they also have to vet them themselves. So that's one of the things I would love to do, and it's just working closer with Europe and seeing if they recommend anybody. And also, if we're hosting non-English like streamers or promoting non-English YouTubers on our channel, we do have to understand that people who go to our channels are mainly English speaking, so they might not get, they might not be able to understand it. But it is not something that shouldn't be considered.
What are your plans on fixing the Zen backlog? We were talking about that, or rather Willow was talking about that with Hasta this weekend. it's a really interesting conversation. It made me make a note of going in and looking at the metrics, looking at the analytics, so I get a better understanding of it. That's where I'm at in regard to that question.
What's going to happen when the new Xbox releases? We'll be able to play it on the new console. Do you want to talk about that? I'm leaving that one to you.
Yes.
So there were other questions about like Zen Market stuff we offer in there. I'm not sure if this would be an appropriate CDP topic, but I can bring it up to Chris and other people on the team about maybe having a CDP topic that covers, what is available in the Zen Market. I mean, that is also, it comes down to being a business central. That's, where we make our business. But we have had discussions here and there in the past, kind of all over the forums about what people would like, what other people don't like, cosmetics versus no cosmetics. So it's definitely something worth talking about in a more focused way.
In regard to other quality of life stuff, we are going to be working on quality of life. Zen Store is going to be part of streamlining, things like search not functioning properly at certain times, being an area that we'll look at. Things like having search in inventory is another thing that we'll be looking at. And yes, Dragonborn heads. I need to basically talk to the leads in regard to that. We've been talking about that recently. In regard to the PvP questions that keep coming up, yes, we are going to hear more things about PvP. Currently, my focus is on the main game, but Rob Haruda, who's one of the PvP designers on the team, I think now we just have to do it. We're going to do a separate CDP. Rob can manage that. Mm-hmm. You guys can talk about it. Really, what I want the focus to be on is low-hanging fruit, because we have such a big mission this year in terms of what we have to create. But there is room for low-hanging fruit, so yeah, that'd be great. Well,
so we'll do rewards first, and then we'll move on to PvP if that works.
Is there any plan on making Tom harder? No. I've just got to the point where I could do LOM, and I'm scared to even do that. So, Tom is just nightmares for me, although I watch people do it a lot. The word got, whatever.
In game, the word got, normally the list of censorship tries to cover anything that can be used as a slur, or I'm not sure if that one is mainly another language. I don't know exactly who handles the profanity filter, if that is a PWE owned thing or if it's a cryptic owned thing. My assumption is it is PWE owned. But I haven't done a poll on their profanity filter in-game in a while, so I can go ahead and ask them for that and see if we can reevaluate it.
So, Mr. Miyagi, right, that you bring up a really interesting point. I'm going to brainstorm a little bit with you guys here, and you're all going to go crazy, probably for all the wrong reasons. But, this year is going to be interesting for us. Last year we did quite a bit of experimentations with monetization. This year we're going to be looking at some cosmetic monetization and so on. And one thing that I have been, I watch Twitch, and I have done for a long time. And, you get lotteries in Twitch, and so on. And I was thinking about what kind of lottery systems could we use in-game that could be purchased for AD, for example. I was thinking about, and this is, again, being totally transparent, do we put a donation button in the game while we're basically doing all this work this year, so that if you're enjoying the content, you could donate? I don't know. I mean, the analogy is that we are, we're in flight, changing our aircraft into something that is even better for the future, and something that we're working on together. How do we balance those two things? And so if there's anything that I'm really worried about, it's that. But what that boils down for me and the team is we just need to show ourselves coming through with our intent, our commitment to the community, and our commitment to working together, basically, to build worlds moving forward. And that means Neverwinter, but maybe in the future that means we'll be working all together on a different game. I don't know. So many things I've said could be taken out of context here. I'm sure that some people are going to do this, but we have the record here.
I'd love to see the post-stream summaries by folks.
New game.
I mean, one of the things that I'm excited about is that Chris is not afraid of trying new things or even bringing them up. I think in the past there was always a fear of even bringing up new ideas because we are also concerned about getting knocked down. Like, you express an idea and then told no. It's kind of discouraging after a while. So Chris has been great about listening to let's talk about it. Let's bring up the idea and then do exploration.
AD donation equals enable money laundering. Okay. Just contact me privately about that.
I didn't hear anything.
In regard to donation goals, so an idea dress rover behind it would be to have something called the Forge, for example, where it's a page in the Zen market that shows our backlog and players. It shows concept images, prototypes, that kind of thing, and players could vote with their wallet. There are all kinds of arguments for this and against it, but there's something that we should talk about in the rewards and progression. There was such a cool question above.
Do you remember who it was from?
Oh yes, it was. It was a bit biased, but I don't necessarily disagree. Ninja McCheese, would you consider unbanning all the players from the terrible decision Cryptic made? Right. So in terms of the terrible decision, I've been researching it. My comment in regard to that would be, moving forward, if we put, and by the way, this is a very grey area thing, so if we create a paradigm in the game whereby players, that's, broken, whereby players can basically profit from it, then, after X amount of messaging, players will not be banned, and it's something that we will fix faster than we have done moving forward. This relates to release quality as well. The better our release quality, the less this happens. In regard to the individual players that happened to, Julia and I have talked about it. It requires a lot more research. Frankly, it's not a huge focus at the moment. I'm sorry. But it is also something that requires a lot of kind of contemplative time to think about, and also looking into the data. So, yeah. And there was another question about PvP. Again, we are going to do a PvP CDP. So if you want to put your own ideas forward and that kind of thing, that's the place to do it. Any class updates? There will be class updates as we move forward. But that team that will be working on those will release those when they're polished, when they've had enough time to test them out, when the community's had enough time to play them, and so on.
Do we want to do a giveaway for the
Beholder? This looks how I feel.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, someone said you can get colds in California. You can get colds in California, but you can also get colds in studios that work very closely together. The cryptic plague is something I've known about even before I started working here.
Yeah, I'm worried about giving it to Julia now, and I'm also worried about getting her stomach bug. But, the things we do.
I should be out of my stomach bug, because once it's out, it's out. It's just, if I do make people sick, I'll be very sad.
I think it looks very pink on the stream. It's not. It's a bit more reddish in real life.
Yep, and we'll take a picture of it, and I'll post it on social media when we find out the winner. Now, I do say that because shipping is already going to be really rough on this thing because it's so gentle, I'm going to keep it within the United States. Now, if someone within the U.S. wants to then send it to someone in Europe, you're more than welcome to. But it's one of those things
Or we could basically, if the person who wins it isn't in the US, then we'll give them something else from my office. So you'll have nothing in there.
Yep. But right now, it's just this is a really, really delicate item. So let's type in.
There's still some work to be done on the build, so we're going to be here boring you for a little bit longer.
All right. So if you want a chance to win this signed beholder, handmade beholder, made by Thomas Foss and signed on the back, please type in the word beholder, BEHOLDER. Type it in chat and let us know. Again, if you are outside of the United States, then we'll give you something else. If you are in the United States, we'll send you this. So
yeah, potentially there could be 2 prizes.
Yeah, 2 prizes. Wow. A lot of people seem to want that beholder.
I'd like it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I would love to keep that. I have one other handmade item by Thomas Foss. He laser cut some cool Christmas ornaments, beholders, a few years ago. I believe one of our moderators got one too, Kim, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. There's a lot of interest. I'm going to give it a little bit more time than I normally would. So I'm going to give it 15 more seconds.
I'm just going to get an update.
Yep, go ahead. And for those of you who missed it last time when we gave some random item from Chris's office, I forget the name, BB something. They won a signed copy of an Aliens comic. It was signed by Sigourney Weaver. It was a collector edition comic. It was still in the casing and everything. So that got sent out. They should have received it by now. We sent it FedEx. This is very exciting. We don't do physical giveaways too often just because mailing them is rough, especially outside the United States. And I did want to say that last year we did get a number of return packages. They're kind of sitting in our mailing room still. I don't know, we were having issues with a mailing system or the delivery or because of the time of the year they sent. So if there's a physical prize you've won that you have not gotten, we've given away miniatures and a collector edition of the Art and Arcana book. And then I believe we've also given away some peripherals, like a keyboard and stuff. If you've not gotten that and you won something, please send an email to community@crypticstudios.com, letting me know if you can remember the date that you won it and what item you won, and then your Twitch name, so I can go to the mailing room and review those physical giveaways and see if maybe I need to resend them. But yes, let's see. Let's draw a winner now because it's been more than 15 seconds. So. All right, Obsidia67. Congratulations, Obsidia67, on winning the Handmade Beholder. Let me know if you are in the United States or outside of the United States. You can either email me through Whisper here, or you can email community@crypticstudios.com. If you are outside the United States, let's see. Beholder covered in plague germs. So Obsidia, let me know if you are in the United States or not. Let me see if I can find if you said something in chat. If not, email community@crypticstudios.com to let me know your name, address, like mailing address. And I promise I will spray it with Clorox or disinfect it. And USA, Michigan! Go green! Sorry. Those of you from Michigan, if you hear him say "Go Green," you kind of know where I'm coming from. If you're a Wolverine fan, I apologize, Obsidia. So yes, congratulations. I would pick it up, but it's all the way over there. I will take a picture of it, and once I get your email at community@crypticstudios.com, once I get your full name and mailing address, I will send it out. Oh, go blue! Oh no! Well, at least we probably have no one from Ohio here, right? Oh, I forgot. Manic Gypsy. See what happens when you leave unattended. Yes. So yes, we've given that away. I'm really excited to give this one away, but that means we also have to give away something from Chris's office at some point again. I feel really bad for those who are not from the Midwest, who are not from the United States, and who are not into sports because they're not going to understand a single thing we're saying. So I apologize. Will mounts be cross-account, so expensive to buy legendary mounts to alts? I believe some mounts are, but not all of them. It has often come down to a business reason. But we can put some pressure on Chris about that. But right now, typically not every one of them, especially not the legendary mounts.
What's that?
Will mounts be cross-account, so expensive to buy legendary mounts for alts?
It's a huge hot topic button. Personally, I'd like it, but it requires more investigation. I got on my third opening of a lockbox, I got a legendary frog, which I was told not to tell everyone because people would get upset, but, honesty to a fault. And that's on my ranger, and the ability to have him or her on my paladin I would love. So as a player, I'd like it, but we basically need to look into it.
So we did have a winner, and they live in the United States. Obsidia has won, and I'll be sending them out. So they just have to give me their full name and email and mailing address to our email address, community@crypticstudios.com, and we'll send that out.
What did Misfit Mouse say? Further up?
Miss Mouse. If Zen Market was more up to date and refreshed, more Zen would be spent, including adding an unlock to BTA from BTC token. You would have more income from us or support financially.
Yes. Well, Mouse. And also wanted to thank, Gray, Willow, Silvery they did a YouTube kind of like podcast about the CDP. So yeah, what I was going to say is we'll definitely cover that in the next CDP. But also thank you very much for doing that in the spirit of making sure that you guys are properly heard. We shared that with the team and we shared it with the community before we'd even seen it. So, I'm totally open to criticism. Keep it coming. That's basically what is going to evolve the game in a really meaningful way. And so, we look forward to more of those podcasts moving forward. Okay. So it looks like it's a minimum of an hour before the build goes live. Is Gray still here?
I know that Gray planned to stream when we went live, just because that would be the game available. So I do still plan on raiding, or at least hosting, because now raiding, I don't know when. We're probably going to wrap up here pretty soon, just so we can get better eyes on how the build is going. But Gray Haster is now hosting us.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Is it? We could talk for a bit more, but I think I kind of maybe need to go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, normally I go until 9:30 on maintenance days. Typically our maintenance has been up a lot before then, but we had the extended one today.
Let's try to go till 9:45, and then let's try to get to 10.
All right.
Like those streamers that are like, I've been up for 48 hours, but for us it's much less than that, and somehow that's a great thing to do.
I did want to update folks. Like some people ask me, how do you do you follow the streamers and how long the stream, how many hours they stream and followers and stuff. And yes, I do. I actually use a website, sullynome.com. It's I look at 7 and 30-day metrics and see who's put in the most hours streaming, who has the most followers, how many followers they acquired. I do look at that. I do not base the number of followers on for content creator program. I look at basically how much time they spent in streaming the game and playing the game. To me, that's a bigger investment. We have some small-time streamers who are very dedicated to the game, very knowledgeable, or small-time content creators like YouTubers who they might not have as many followers, but their content is high quality, so we want to promote them so they can actually get more numbers.
Draken, I saw this a lot in the CDP actually about training players for the dungeons. Personally, and it's not all about me, right? I didn't have any issue with it, but I've played a lot of MMOs. But in terms of building a platform that could last for ages, that isn't a bad idea at all. And I think that as part of streamlining, that'll be part of the storified process. And so, whilst we will have, harder versions of those dungeons, we will kind of maybe do some of that work in terms of streamlining to increase discoverability and learnability for the player. Chris, will Infernal Descent include new story quests and side quests? Yes. The character level won't be changing.
So there was a question here. So why are most sales in the Zen market for VIP? I don't agree with that. I do know that every now and then we do have one-time sales that if you are VIP rank 3+, you get an extra special discount on something. Those happen every few weeks, but we have general sales for everybody.
See that? You see Julia answering that. There's an example of previously she would have been anxious to answer that question. You could hear it a little bit in her voice, right? So over time, people are going to be as transparent as me. So just give us a little bit more time on that.
You don't know what you've unleashed.
Yeah. Any ideas for fashion contest event? My kids, they love that in Roblox. I don't know. I mean, is it really worth spending a lot of time on it when we've got all the different things that we need to do? I think that it could be done really simply by, and streamed and so on. So potentially. And then in regard to content creator streams, another thing that we want to do is, and we're going to have to think a bit more about it, but I've already spoken to Lord Willow about it and we'll speak to others, is live CDPs. So basically the ability for us to actually brainstorm live and make decisions, or at least have the intent to make decisions with a community. So a session, for example, could last 2 hours, and we are talking specifically about VIP or something like that. You guys are asking questions, the streamers are basically filtering those, and they're asking questions too, and so on. But I think that that's something that we should do. What's the CDP? Collaborative Development Project. Basically, it's an endeavor by which we have fun making games together. So go check it out. It's on our website. If someone wants to link it, feel free.
And it's basically focused feedback, where instead of us trying to like work together with the community around, chasing down all the information across the entire forums, we have this one section where we dedicate ourselves to one topic at a time, and it's really helpful for that.
So the thing is, who said go to bed? I don't know if I can go to bed because, one, we're going live, so I want to play. Two, if there are issues, I want to be here to help the team. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even me, like this morning, Chris is like, you should go home after this. I'm like, well, I mean, I can't either. Just even though I'm feeling much better today. Yesterday, I was still out the entire day with the stomach flu, and but there's a lot of stuff that we need to do after a build goes live, especially all the social media is handled by me, and I also want to make sure that the build is good when it goes live. I create the threads, the week 1 issues thread. I monitor in game. I go in game myself to see how things are going. I'm really looking forward to getting my Warlock into some new content.
So King, in regard to fashion, I'd like to see more fashion. No doubt a number of people are going to mention dress-up wars now. No, that isn't the extent in terms of, cosmetic opportunities to invest in the game that I think we would go to. But I do think that as we move towards a more narrative journey in terms of the narrative arcs and the episodes and the experience of that, I think we're just going to get players saying, that they want that stuff anyway. So, yes, VIP answers, please. I don't know what that is. Yeah, sorry, I must have missed that from earlier. What was the question? She did this to you. No, Julia had a stomach bug.
I was perfectly fine on Friday, which is the last day I saw.
My eldest son did this to me. He's been in bed. He's been in bed sick for a week, which is the first time ever he's missed a whole week of school. So what was the VIP question?
So please, what about more keys, more keys and benefits for VIP?
Oh yes, we'll be talking about that in. Well, did they say more keys?
Yep, they said more keys. They want one of them. Another person said VIP 12 3 keys. Right.
Okay. We're going to be talking about that directly in the rewards and progression CDP. So. Join that forum, be part of the conversation. We're going to be raising some pretty interesting facts about VIP, some pretty cool things that we could do with it, but we need your guidance as well in regard to it.
Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that originally I was thinking of doing a separate VIP, but because VIP rewards are part of the whole reward system, we'll be including it into the rewards and progression. If it gets really noisy and we see that there's too separate of a discussion between, out of VIP rewards and VIP rewards, we can look at making another CDP in the future for just VIP. But for now, it'll be collapsed under the rewards one.
So I think Captain said VIP versus cost is not right. It's interesting. Nearly 90% of the feedback I receive and we receive is that VIP is the most valuable thing that we offer in the game. So it'll be interesting, Captain Caveman. It's going to be interesting to see your comments in the CDP and your arguments and so on. We'll discuss them maturely. I'd love to get more insight into why you feel like that. So yeah, crafting as well. I haven't actually dipped into crafting yet, but the other leads have been talking about it in the team. So it's not on our list currently for this year, or is it? It might be part of rewards. So again, let's discuss that in the CDP for rewards, please.
Which was it? Discuss
crafting.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely going to be in Mastercraft specifically.
Mastercraft made itself into accessibility as well. So I think we're going to see Mastercraft show up in other areas.
When is the next CDP?
It'll start on Wednesday, so tomorrow.
Wow. Really?
Busy week. Yes, if I do ask that people be gentle. If Chris is sick, I'll try to be in there manning as much as possible. But it's allow for illnesses.
Okay.
I can always postpone it if Chris asks me to be.
Comments about housing in Neverwinter. Great, it would be lovely, but it's not a priority at the moment. Yeah. Based on conversations we've had with the community and so on. But again, the whole reason that we're doing this, everything that I've talked about today, everything we talked about in the CDP, is to allow for us to have a massive runway moving forward in terms of engaging with the game, the community, and the Neverwinter IP. So is it going to happen? It could do. It'd have to be something really meaningful and something that is exciting to a lot of players. So let's tackle that when we have started proving our intent in terms of deploying some of the solutions and evolutions to what we've been talking about over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
And one of the things is that we do know that player housing is important to a subsection of players, but right now we want to tackle the game as a whole and then dive deep. But just to kind of give you an idea, discussions that we've had as to how to make player housing or find ways to make that available would be maybe unlocking a room in the Great Hall and then tying it to the promissory note. So those of you who kept your promissory note could use it to unlock a room there, but that is something that it's still only been in the discussion stage. And I'm always eager to continue that discussion. But as Chris mentioned, right now we want to look at some of the higher level issues and prove ourselves to the community again, and then be able to refine our releases better.
A number of people, high-tech, have asked about raising the AD cap. I don't know enough about it yet. We were talking, Gray and Willow were talking about it this weekend. I think they both had pros and cons in regard to it. Please let me talk to the team in regard to that. And again, that's going to be part of the rewards conversation. The thing is, if I was to go into how I feel about what we should do here and there in regard to rewards, I'd be betraying the spirit and intent of us working together to define the game moving forward. So, the CDP is happening. We're going to discuss it there. And I think that's the best and only way that we can actually meaningfully develop together. Otherwise, it's just smoke and mirrors and marketing, and that is absolutely not what it is. So forgive me for not, giving definite answers around that. That's because we're going to work on that together. We're going to be better informed, and we're going to talk about it.
Why did I remind you of the promissory notes in the bank? Because it's a promise to myself that I'll remind the team about the promissory note.
I don't know what that is.
So back in Module 11, and it'll be interesting how maybe people stop referring to other releases of modules. The Cloaked Ascendancy. There was basically Lord Neverember gave players an IOU. You helped him out, and he gives you an IOU that doesn't, it just kind of sits, an item that sits in most people's banks. A lot of people got rid of it, they sold it, but other people held on to it. And one of the things we always talked about was, if someone of great importance gives you an IOU, you want to hold on to that. And we've kind of been exploring ways internally to make that item useful, make it part of the narrative.
Okay.
The Cloaked Ascendancy was a great, to me, narrative example because it was
and I assume we could track all the players that deleted it.
Yep. Because we all talked about that. Players who deleted it, players who sold it, because we don't want to put them at an unfair advantage just because it's something that we hadn't thought to use at that point yet.
Well, let's look at basically making that part of the narrative, a small part of the narrative moving forward, and perhaps we'll do something in an episode or in one of the expansions. In regard to cleric balance, I don't have the answer for you on that. First of all, I play a paladin. There are people that are better suited to answer that question, and it's not an area that I've dipped that heavily into at the moment. So that doesn't mean we're not going to answer that question or we're not listening. There are just better people to answer it than me.
So I did see a question about, Amun says, any plans to add checkboxes to the mailbox to open or delete multiple messages at the same time to allow us to turn off the confirm delete dialogue? That is actually something I was thinking the other day as I was managing my mailbox. And yes, that's something that I would like to present to the team. That would probably require just some UI and some tech work. But as Chris explores ways to use the in-game mail system to do more messaging, we can look at ways to make it easier for players to manage that mail system. Okay. Any plans to increase crafting bag space?
Rewards, CDP, sorry.
Mm-hmm. I did like the idea someone mentioned several months ago, which was having shelves inside your workshop that would serve as extra space.
Sorry, Nephrodil.
So Stark Online already does multiple email deletion, just after those guys. Yes, actually, so those of you who played Stowe might be used to like the episodic system and that type of stuff, so a lot of things might start sounding familiar, and that is because all the games here do borrow from each other extensively.
You know, the original Castle Never was mentioned, as I said, in the CDP, and the community talked about in there as well. There is the ability for us to rotate content in and out moving forward where it makes sense in terms of managing development debt, increasing polish, but most importantly, to create an evolving world. So, for example, what I mean by that is if we could take, say, an adventure zone out of the game, polish it, fix all the bugs in that area, and then basically keep the geography the same, but build whatever makes sense in terms of the narrative, rebuild the zone to reflect that. So could Castle Never come back? Yes.
So someone mentioned, so TIE Fighter 77, any plans to fix old characters in Tower of Alteration? My character gets deformed when I try to edit it. I'm glad you pointed out it was old characters, and yes, that's because when we, I think this was before I started, they redid the character, like the different models and stuff that were available. And that means that if you created your character before that change went in and you go to the Tower of Alteration, the Tower of Alteration has a hard time finding the data for your old character. I, again, don't know how much work that would go into it, and I don't know how many players it affects at this point, but it's something I can bring up again.
In regard to bugs, yes, so when I say development debt, what I refer to that is if you've got a team, for example, that any development team that is told that they must hit X amount of goals. That goal may be date, or it could be money to help basically ensure that the business carries on and we can keep basically building stuff and building the world out and so on. When I refer to development debt, a lot of that gets caused not through ill intent, but through perhaps some forms of unrealistic development or issues that have happened during the development phase of that. And as part of what was announced earlier in regard to moving to faster release content in terms of episodic content, and then systems and features, the majority of systems and features coming out in the big expansions mean we're going to have more time for release quality, which means less development debt. And then as part of, as we move forward, bugs that we have in the game, high priority ones that we, for whatever reason, haven't had the time to get to, will also be cleared as we're moving. So this whole plan, the streamlining, the different ways that we're going to develop, the different kind of best working practices we're going to be used, are all fused together to ensure that not only can we start moving forward much more in a pioneering way in terms of what it means to be a player in Neverwinter and the experiences you have, but also as we're going along to basically shore up the ship, tighten things up, and delete some of our development debt. The other option would be to go to stop the service for a while and to work on it that way. But I've worked on other games where we've done this, a similar model in terms of being able to move forward and address development debt in the past. And I think that that's the best way for us to move forward.
So people asking about ARC points. So ARC points are a system managed by Perfect World. They pulled them out a couple years ago. And I think they were relooking at the system. It was being abused by botters, that kind of stuff. I haven't received an update from them. I'll go ahead and reach out to their team over there and ask if they have any update. But as of now, I don't know where they are at this point on that.
Is Tales of Old ever going to return? Yes.
All right, I think we do. Ooh, we have someone open the door.
Who is it?
It's this guy. I've seen that question getting asked, so I figured I'd bring an answer for you.
Hi, Robert.
Say hi, Rob.
Oh God.
Come on, you can answer it here.
Okay, cool. Well, fine.
Hi. Good morning. What do you have for us?
Spartan 3020 continues to ask about about the pets, DPS pets.
Right there.
Oh yeah. Right there.
What do you have to say about that?
No, we have no plans to normalize and equalize all of those things.
Okay.
All of the, for everyone else, the offense defense slots and stuff like that for DPS pets.
Well,
We're
thank
not
you for
going to be doing that.
Thank you for answering. And for those of curious, this is Robert Haruda. We have mentioned his name during the stream a few times.
I've never been here once.
Well, during this stream, we mentioned your name
sure.
because we after the next CPP topic, which is rewards, we'll be then doing a PvP topic, CPP. So you'll be our point person. But thank you for taking time to answer. So as you can see, we do have people on the team who are watching and taking out people's questions. So we really appreciate a visit from the systems.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, we're doing this. Did you say doing the CDP?
Yep.
See, I can't. It's funny, when I interviewed here, I was really sick as well, and I can't remember anything from the interview. It's a miracle that I got the job. Yeah. But Rob and I go way back as well, by the way. We used to work on.
Yeah, I've heard mentioned. So actually, what I'm thinking of doing is it's 9:34. Let's do one more giveaway for Rainbow Starry Panther. And then I think we're going to wrap it up because you're fading fast. You are fading, and people keep telling me that you should go to bed, and so...
that thing is cool.
Well, let's go. Let's see what the question's like. And it's like... Right, move, Rob.
Oh. Yes, Captain.
Sorry. What, Rob?
Yeah. I will...
Why is the game running super slow on your Dell desktop? You could send in a ticket with your DX Diag and we can have a look at it, but it could be that it only, it may not meet the recommended system requirements. But yeah, send it in. We put in,
I think I'll have to check when we last updated system requirements, and I'll check with our infrastructure team to ask them if the requirements are still up to date. They're normally really good about letting me know, hey, these things are changing, so that it's no longer up to date. But I'll do another check-in. And I haven't even entered a word yet. I haven't, you're all entering Panther, and I haven't actually created the giveaway yet. So now I have to, now I'm going to put in another word, because no. All right, if you want to win the Rainbow Starry Panther, type in the word rainbow. Those of you getting ahead of me, type in rainbow, RAINBOW. I'm really happy that for this mount that's, what was created in 2015, June of 2015, it still seems to have a lot of interest. I think personally it's a really cool looking mount. And as Silver has said many times, rainbow everything would be great. So I agree. And we'll let it run for a little bit and look at some questions real quick. Well, right now we're not going to questions because it's all rainbow. Okay, that one I want to keep a track of. So I'm going to keep it there. Try that one. All right, I'm going to draw a winner, or two of them.
Great. I hope. I'm really looking forward to watching and listening to your stream. Hopefully I won't fall asleep. It'll take me I'm going to go home after this. It'll take me about, 30 minutes to get home, and then I don't think I'll be answering any questions, but I'll certainly be listening.
So Jagged Edge won one of the Rainbow Starry Panther mounts. Jagged Edge, please email community@crypticstudios.com to let us know what platform you play on. Thank you. And Jessa Faye, congratulations, Jessa Faye. You have won another Rainbow Starry Panther mount. Email community@crypticstudios.com. Let us know what platform. And for those of you who might have already won this item before, if you win again, you can also let me know in the email and let me know if you would like another code for it, so maybe you can give it away to somebody, or if you would like an alternate prize, which would likely be an in-game title, or the upcoming Transmute Cloak that we're going to be testing after this goes live. So congratulations, winners. Those are the last giveaways for the stream. But there was a question that came up, which was William HS also wanted to point out something that Chris might not be aware. There's a big difference on some things that are offered in the Zen store between platforms, and that is just not fair in my opinion. Xbox got a Legendary Choice Insignia pack, and they still do, while in PC we get a chance to get a Legendary Insignia. That's shady at best. Please address this.
It's interesting.
So that one was... So the Legendary Insignia pack is something that should be available on all Zen stores, all platforms. But every now and then we do get special promos or sales that we do just on one platform or another. And sometimes we'll offer that Legendary Insignia pack will have a chance for a Legendary mount. That is not a permanent thing. That is like a limited time. Usually lasts for about 3 days to a week. And sometimes we do it across all platforms at the same time. Sometimes we do it only on one platform. I believe this last run of it was across all platforms, but I'll take a look. And sometimes it's just playing calendar Tetris. What basically creates better synergy with what platform at that point. But we do try to make it so that our big sales are across the board. Sometimes those who play on Xbox and those who play on PS4 have noticed that their Zen might be on sale at different times. That often does come down to what our platform partners, Sony or Microsoft, when they can slot in our sales. We do try to work really hard to make sure it all kind of happens at the same time, but there can be differences that occur.
I have a question, which is, what would you folks like to see in terms of the next stream? Would you like, Julie's going to do her streams no matter what. I guess what I'm saying is, what would you like to see in terms of the next kind of content for the stream? Would you like us to work with some of the content creators and do a live CDP, or basically take a section out of the current CDP and discuss it live? What would you like? Plus, remember that moving forward, you're going to see a whole slew of developers coming through, talking with Julia and that kind of thing. I know it's happened before, but they're going to be much more transparent in terms of what they talk about, so we have to manage that. But I am interested, and sorry, I'm biasing this now, in doing an experiment of taking part of the CDP out and actually doing it over a 2-hour, that could be interesting. Or it could be really bad, right? But it'd be worth trying.
But just to set proper expectations to folks, because this is a launch week, our publisher has asked us to do certain, kind of marketing initiatives.
Yeah, it's not this week.
So this week we do have Michael Lynch will be co-hosting a stream with Origins PC. They're going to be doing a stream with some giveaways as well. And I believe that will be Thursday. It was originally going to be Friday, but I believe they're changing it to Thursday. And then next week we'll be doing a Let's Play. So I'll be doing a stream. A Let's Play is usually just running through the new content. And I'll be doing that with Alienware. So there are a couple streams that we're just doing with partners for giveaways and marketing, basically promotions. But that does not mean we're ignoring our content creators. We're still rating Haster after this. And then throughout this week, I'm going to be trying to host as many people as possible who are playing through the newer content.
So, Elite Noddy, I tend to play, quite frequently during the week and weekends with Flounder, Willow, Grey Hester, Mouse, anyone that is, and they end up trying to prank me with, I never have to heal them because they're so uber. It's a good laugh. One thing I want to point out in regard to that is that if I'm playing with people on live on stream, I'm relaxing and I'm enjoying the game. And sometimes I'll be silly and that kind of thing. So don't take those things seriously. But yeah, they're my friends and I like playing with them. I learn a lot from them. But most recently, for those that have been watching the streams, they generally, in a fun way, troll me. So I refuse to heal them, which is hilarious because they don't need to be healed. But I also obviously play with other members of the community. But like I said, I'm level 80 and I have roughly 21k item power. So I play a lot, and I play on PC. Yeah.
Do you remember Lady Lily? They're asking you.
Lady Lily.
So someone named Nick Lily 001 is asking. So maybe
probably I don't know. Sorry.
Chris, the team infector.
Yeah, I know. I should probably go, right?
We should wrap up. It is 9:42. So yeah, just stay tuned for updates on maintenance. If for some reason it goes longer than expected, I will, post updates on social and on forums. I'm going to go ahead and now post the.
So I want to point out, Swart Lodek basically said, AKA best in slot, only friends. That's absolutely not true. Flounder isn't best in slot. And also we play with people that are on the stream who aren't best in slot. In no way am I best in slot. So that's absolutely not the case. And I also play anytime I can when they're not there. So yeah.
And some of you actually found me in the wild. I like to play when, sometimes I'll play with a purpose. I'm looking into something. Other times I just like to log in and just play for fun. And, my day gets so busy I don't get to do it too often, but I try to at least dedicate some portion of the day to play for fun. And some folks have found me, and actually helped me out, especially if I'm in Barovia and, the night terror comes after me. and or other times they've helped me during other events and stuff like that. And it's been fun to kind of give out rewards, like in-game codes, surprise people, like, hey, you just helped a CM, here's a code. But you found me in the wild, and if you find us in the wild, we're usually just having fun, and we're just kind of laid back.
Yeah, this has expectorant in it, but I don't know. It's not working.
You need some NyQuil. Take some NyQuil home. Take
No,
some
because
NyQuil to bed.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, okay.
All right.
Like, we hope you enjoy the content. The team's worked really hard. You know our plan moving forward. You know our intent. Hold us to the fire to deliver. It's not going to be an easy journey, but it's going to be an exciting one, and you're all part of it. We've been working heavily on release quality. I hope that the release quality is better in this build. It'll certainly be much better moving forward. Bear with us, and thank you very much.
And I can always trust
for
you
your support so far,
and I can always trust you folks to take something I say and run with it in a direction that.
What have they said now?
Just
yeah. Okay.
On that note, everybody have a wonderful morning, afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you, and we'll catch you in the game.
We'll see you in game. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.